All righty, folks. Let's get it rolling. It is a pre-record. My sincerest apologies from the top. If you're mad about that, I guess blame Roger Goodell. They scheduled a Friday night game for the opening weekend of the year. I can't miss. It's Eagles Packers. It should be a good one down in Brazil. So this is for me must see TV. So unfortunately for you fine folks who just need to see me live, all dozen or so of you every Friday, please accept my apologies. Hopefully next weekend is back live. I'm not sure. It's the fall, and we'll get to that in a moment. The wonder of the fall, the fun, the joy that fall, and at least the beginning of winter around here bring. Before all of that, some socials. I'm supposed to plug my socials: Twitter at Mike Montone, Instagram at Gary_Moyler. Moyler, YouTube at Mike's Golden Streams. Really, these days, YouTube is the best place to get. YouTube or my Twitter DMs, best place to get. I mean, I haven't checked my Twitter mentions in probably over a year now, and fuck, what? I haven't been on Instagram in forever. I've been accepting like follow requests and stuff on Instagram, but I haven't been logged in. I have to check messages. I have a lot of Instagram DMs that have been unanswered for fucking months. And now I'm being distracted because there's a book over on my bookshelf that is quite thick that I'm not sure if I've read before, and it looks very interesting. It's about the 5 points, like Gangs of New York, but I don't know if I've read it yet, and I don't want to jump into reading like a fucking 400-page book that I've read already. But I don't think I have. That one might be that may be a virgin read for me. I've had a lot of doing a lot of football reading lately because it's the beginning of the season. So I've been reading books by Michael Lombardi and this other guy, I forget his fucking name, worked for a bunch of NFL teams. But if you're looking to learn football from not like the way ESPN covers football is terrible. It's just a highlight fest and it's hot takes and shit. And it's really not. It's not football coverage. The networks do a better job, I think, of that. But if you really want to get into the game of football, Michael Lombardi, Gridiron Genius, and then there's another book I forget the guy who wrote it, but it's called Take Your Eye Off the Ball 2.0. And they're both very, very good books on how an organization is put together, how rosters come together, how coaching decisions are made, how teams break down film, and how they go about scheduling their week of practice. So if you're very into the sport of football, it's worth checking out. It helps to speak the language a little bit. If you don't know what anything means, you might be in a little bit of trouble. But it's even if not, I would say they're very, very good reads for people who want to have a better understanding of the sport of professional football. And of course, it is the end of summer. Football is here to save us. It's sad boy season. I don't know why fall became sad boy season. I love the fall. The only thing that takes a little bit of shine off of the fall is the fact that summer is over. Summer, basically every weekend you go to the beach, and these days there are effectively nude big fat asses everywhere you look. Like the thong is so in, and I've talked about this every weekend. I know I probably sound like a broken record, but just way to go, ladies. Bringing back the thong. It looks like everyone's squatting. What I like now, and what I really observed down the shore, because I did. My lady friend and I got a place down in Belmar for Labor Day weekend, so we were there Friday to Monday, and then before that, I was down at my parents' place on Long Beach Island. Before that, I was by my sister and her husband Asbury, and then I did a few days in Seaside. Like I've pretty much just been beach, like even more than my usual shore time. I was just fucking. There was no. I had zero concerns in life other than being on the fucking beach. Um, and I was trying to figure this out, and I think I got to the point where, because when I was growing up, I think that there were good looking and ugly. And I think ugly people in general have gotten better looking. Good looking people have gotten much better looking because there's, TikToks that do daily tutorials on like skincare or whatever. And now it's just information that was not accessible to everybody back in the day is just, it's right there in front of your face. Right these days, you have no excuse uh, if you look like shit, right? Because even like fatties, who back in the day, fatties were really, it was bad skin and they were poorly dressed. They were, it was like they were wearing a fucking muumuu or whatever, and it was just a disgusting mess. Now they kind of have fit. They can, you can kind of, it's better than putting perfume on a pig. So it's better than putting, a mini skirt on a pig. With all of like the contouring and everything that people do, and like I feel like, again, hairstyling and clothing is fashionable. Clothing is much more accessible now because there's places like H&M and what have you, where you can get decent looking shit for like no money. So it's like all of these factors have sort of intersected. I think the prevalence of people squatting and deadlifting. Obviously, there are a lot of fat fucks out there in society. When I say fat fucks, I mean people who have opted out of health and fit. They just decided that they want nothing to do with it. That they are happy with the supersized soda and walking around the mall. You know, just like a fucking slob. But there's like a new sort of realm of overweight fit where it's like, oh yeah, maybe you do work out a little bit and you're getting some squats and deadlifts in, and so like the thickies are looking a little bit. I feel like everyone but the dregs is kind of a level up now. I've noticed that. So bravo to everyone for putting in the effort. If you're a look, if you're a bigger gal, get in the fucking squat rack. Emphasize the curves in a good way. You see a lot of that on the northern Jersey Shore beaches. I think the closer you get to Long Branch, the more you see of that. But I don't understand why people get so down on the fall, other than the end of summer. Obviously, it sucks to say goodbye to the summer, where again it's a flesh festival and we're just having a good time. But you got football, you got the holidays. It's just a really nice, like, September through. I think September through the Super Bowl is good. I know people get depressed again right after the holidays are over, but fuck, for my money, I mean, you get the best football of the year. You got nothing but an excuse to just sit inside and eat delicious food and watch football. And then it's like, I understand. I think sad boy season should be the day after the Super Bowl through whenever Easter is really sad boy season to me, or maybe St. Patrick's Day if you're a raging alcoholic. But to me, that's the saddest stretch of the year because it's just like this 6 to 8 week purgatory where it's been cold and dark for a while. It's getting a little bit lighter out earlier, but it's also going to rain a shitload, and you're just going to have a lot of these wet, cold, gloomy days, especially if you're here in the Northeast, where like everything is just kind of soaked and damp and cold for maybe 2 months. But the promise of spring is there, and it keeps teasing you. Like it'll be 60 one day, and you're like, holy shit, this feels incredible. The sun is amazing. I feel good. And then a day later, it's like 39 degrees and fucking raining, and you're just like, oh, I understand why people in Seattle off themselves at such a high rate. So don't let the fall be your sad boy season. Have a good time. Have a cider. Drink a little apple cider. There's a place I'm going to on Sunday that has it's got an apple cider slushy. So I'm gonna drink that on my way up the Parkway while I listen to the start of the 1 o'clock games, and I'll be on the couch in time for the big one, Dallas versus the Browns. Getting ready. I love it. But I had a lovely time over the week off. Lots, though, I will say, the late summer, because that's kind of when everyone gets their vacation in. Lot of douchebags and weirdos out there. I was on the beach in Belmar on Labor Day, and I was in the water getting that last swim in. Ocean swimming, for those of you who don't do it. If you don't ocean swim, you're a fucking idiot. I have swam in oceans all over the world, from the Pacific to the fucking Indian Ocean to the Atlantic, the Adriatic, I think, or the Mediterranean, one of those over in Italy. I love an ocean swim. It's fucking incredible. I do not understand what this family was doing. They were just wearing their clothes into the ocean. And I'm not like, when I say wearing their clothing into the ocean, some of them were wearing shoes and socks. All of them to a person were in socks. They were wearing socks. I have no idea what was going on. Some of them were wearing like polo shirts and like jean shorts and stuff, just into the water, getting it soaked in ocean water. And they had a full spread, all their stuff laid out up on the beach, and they were clearly familiar with the concept of going to the beach. They didn't appear to be destitute, fresh air. I don't know if they were South or Central American or what, but they didn't appear to be, money didn't seem like it was. Maybe they weren't loaded. I don't know if they were, a family full of oil tycoons, but fucking, they didn't, they had it enough together to have some decent clothes and some beach gear and shit, but they decided they would be wearing everything into the ocean. One of the most bizarre things that I've ever seen. And like, I know I've seen the photos of women in like the hijab or whatever going into the ocean to cool off. That I understand, because it's like religious, and they'll get fucking beaten in a town square, where they come from if they don't do that. But I could not find a plausible reason in my brain for why these people would be in that attire at the beach, in the ocean too. Even shoes and socks on the beach is a weird move for me. I do. So I'm training for a marathon right now, which is why you probably notice I look I look lighter than usual. I don't have as much width, and still quite fit, of course. I ran the Belmar 5 on Saturday, and I went for a nice 10-mile run on Long Beach Island when I was down there. Just in the midday heat, just fucking cooking. And I wanted to jump in the ocean, but I didn't, because the last time I did that, I don't like it. Feels disgusting to put on shoes and socks with wet feet. And the last time I jumped in the ocean after a run. I had to fucking walk a good half mile across blacktop back to my parents' house. My feet just getting fucking scorched. So I didn't do it, but that's all to say. I do not understand people wear shoes and socks on the beach. Go barefoot, get a pair of sandals. A good pair of fucking flip-flops is incredible. They make them now with like thick foam. They're not the shitty, floppy, thin, hard rubber things that they were like 20, 30 years ago. Like they're making sandals now, flip-flops, thong fucking good beach sandals with the durability of athletic sneakers now. So you gotta get a pair. The most comfortable thing I put on my feet these days are my thick foam reefs. If you're hanging out by the beach or in any kind of summer locale, get yourself a pair. They're fucking incredible. But I could not for the life of me figure out why these lunatics were going into the ocean fully clothed. Again, they were wearing jewelry and shit. Like there's no. If you told me they were too poor to afford a swimsuit, that might have made sense, but for the obvious trappings of financial security that they had. Elsewhere on the beach, this family sitting in front of us. I don't know what the fuck it is about some people. Some people just don't give a shit about their own garbage. These people came from without getting into specifics, a country where sidewalk defecation is known to be a thing, and a lot of people. There are famously photos of a lot of people riding on the outside of trains. So do the math. I live in a neighborhood amongst many of them, and littering is a huge problem around here. And apparently, from what I have been told by members of said group, it is sort of a cultural thing where they just don't give a fuck about littering. So they took a blanket out of like packaging and then just let the shit blow away in the fucking breeze. And my woman grabbed one of the pieces of cardboard and like brought it to him. Was like, hey, like, this blew away. And they were like, oh, okay. So they just put it down, and then like 2 minutes later, it blew away again, and they clearly gave no fucks. So we just grabbed it and fucking threw it away. But there are, and people wonder why this is like a hot fucking issue. Why New Jersey charges you to go to the beach. It's the municipalities that do it. It's the towns that charge in New Jersey to go to the beach. And it's because we deal with shit like this, and we have to pay to have the beaches cleaned up because people can't look after their shit. So I was reading into the arguments that people were making online about, pro and con paying for beaches. And there were people who seemed to think that the beach fees are there to dissuade you from leaving litter there. Like, oh, you're paying to go. Why would you? And they were like, that's not going to stop people. They don't get it. It's the beach fee is there because in the most densely populated state in the country, with a lot of like half of our fucking state gets cut off by New York and Staten Island. So only a certain amount of New Jersey's coastline is actually ocean beach. Half the state isn't. It's like rivers and swamps and shit. But we get everyone from New Jersey goes down the shore, densely populated state. Everyone from New York City comes down the shore because they know that the shore is better than fucking Long Island and the Hamptons. Suck a dick. And everyone from like Philadelphia and Eastern Pennsylvania and upstate New York, Connecticut, all these places come down to the Jersey Shore. You have people coming up. You have people flying in because it's a well-known vacation destination. So it's a fucking, if towns weren't charging people $10 to get on the beach during the summer, which by the way, it's only between, this is another fucking lie people will tell you, is that you have to pay to go to, it's only during the 12-week or 14-week period from Memorial Day through Labor Day. It pays for, Belmar has like the greatest beach bathrooms ever. You have good beach bathrooms there. Like you can comfortably take a shit in most Jersey Shore towns because the bathrooms are so well kept. It's just something that has to be paid for. And these towns empty out population-wise during the off season. So what you would have left is a bunch of lower income people and a lot of like senior citizens and what have you footing the bill for all of these shitheads from fucking Essex County or Philadelphia or wherever coming down, or Hudson County, where I live, is filled with shitheads. And they love to go to the northern Jersey Shore beaches and make a fucking mess. Staten Island, notoriously filled with shitheads, fucking everywhere. These people would be footing the bill for a bunch of assholes from out of town to come in and fuck everything up. So the simple solution is just to charge people a couple bucks to get on the beach, and it's really not a big deal. Anyone who makes a big deal out of it is a fucking asshole. I now get on for free because I'm a veteran, but my entire life before that used beach badges, and a lot of the veteran free on the beach thing is kind of new anyway. So for a while I wasn't, and now I am, and it's wonderful, and I'm highly appreciative. But pay your beach fees, motherfucker. The other thing I did come across was a raging douchebag. I was at a place. There's a place called the Porthole on Long Beach Island, not to be confused with the Glory Hole on Fire Island. That's a very local joke. If you understand that, you get it. Fire Island. There are parts of Fire Island that are largely inhabited by twinks sucking each other off. But so they would be better suited by a glory hole than a porthole. There was Long Beach Island gets a lot of douchebags, but a different kind of douchebag. These are the kinds of douchebags who clean up their trash and are they go so far in the other direction that everything, like, it's an argument over everything. Everything has to be perfect and pristine. They won't even allow buses onto the island other than like charter buses for the most part, because they want to keep the fucking riffraff out, which I actually appreciate. But as a result, there are a lot of like young, like Gen Z and, my millennial generation kind of douchebags there. And I was in the porthole cooling off, having a nice brewski on Thursday night or Thursday afternoon off the beach. And across the bar from me was this just like trio of people who looked like maybe, I want to say maybe late 20s, close to late 20s, early 30s. They had a very millennial vibe to them. But the only reason I thought maybe they weren't millennials is because most millennials now are in the, married with kids phase of their lives. And these people seem to be very much in their fucking wild oat sowing fucking 20s. We're out to have a good time phase. But there was also something vaguely millennial about them. But I don't know. Hard to tell. But there was this guy on, and he had on a Knicks jersey and like a backwards head. He looked like he probably, lives in Murray Hill, maybe works in like probably not finance. He had because finance, you get more of a preppy douche vibe. This guy had more of there was a certain kind of way that millennials dressed in the 2010s when they were going to like Governor's Ball or Ultra Music Festival. Like, he looked like the kind of guy who would have been duped into buying Firefest tickets just to tell people that he had Firefest tickets and that he was going to Firefest. Like, he looked absolutely like the kind of person who would have had a Magnesis card and used it to buy Firefest tickets. And he was singing that Justin Bieber song. I think it's Biebs. Like, My Mama Don't Like You, She Likes Everyone. And he was singing it, and like, have you ever seen The Office, the way Andy Bernard brings his hand up and down when he's changing the notes? Like, people will do that when there's sort of an affectation to it, and one might do it as like a goof, as a as a joke. Like, if you say, maybe you're singing "Get Up, Come On, Get Down with the Sickness" or something like that. Like, you'd have fun doing it. But this guy was like, you could tell he really thought he was kind of like cool and hip. Like, everything about him screamed, "I am not in on the joke." Like, he he took his coolness very seriously, even though it felt like it was like 10 years behind the way a person would attire and comport themselves. But what are you going to do? This is the price we pay for fun in the sun. Then it was back up to North Jersey and New York City. Of course, is just my neighborhood is fucking overrun with migrants. The ones that we have a lot of like Central American. I think they're Central American, Central maybe some South, but they're all very short and very regularly drunk and fighting with each other, and they just sit. They used to hang out by the auto zone, but now the cops clear them out from there where like the shoppers go, and now they just hang out behind the auto zone, which I don't see how that's any better. They're just on a residential fucking street behind a strip mall, and they sit around drinking. There's a liquor store in the strip mall. They just sit there hammering Bud Ice pounders, fucking puking on the sidewalk and getting into fights with each other, sitting on like desk chairs like this one that have been like discarded or whatever. It's quite a scene. It was a massive culture shock coming from Long Beach Island, and up into that. I spend over a week just lounging on the fucking beach, toes in the sand, and then up. I got an Airbnb a few blocks away from the ocean, just hanging out, drinking high noons, fucking, getting naked, having a good time, and then all of a sudden, the way it hit me was like, I got back late, Monday night, Labor Day night. So I parked, got back to my apartment, fucking went to sleep, and I go to work very early in the morning, so I leave the apartment, and I didn't really come across anybody, very minimal human interaction until I got into New York City. Even the bus was kind of sparse. I think a lot of people probably decided to take a day and work remote, or were moving slow. Maybe they took a later bus in, but it didn't hit me until I walked out of there's sort of like the doors that take you from where the buses drop you off and then into the terminal at Port Authority. It hit me, and it was just fucking, I guess because everyone was on vacation for a week, the fucking vagrants just kind of took the place over because it was probably a little more empty. It was crawling. There were a couple times when I had to like juke or move out of the way because a lot of these guys, they make erratic like the biggest problem is that they move so erratically. Like if the bums and the vagrants and the homeless guys there were just kind of like slumped or whatever, or if they were doing that, like I see videos from like Philadelphia where they're doing this, like it's like this, I don't know what the fuck it is with people on heroin do this. They're like, they hunch. They just stand there hunched. Like it's like a fucking, if they were doing that, I would almost be fine with it. But they're like, I don't know if these are PCP homeless or what, but they're like walk around swinging their arms and shit. So you have to make like a big fucking loop around them, and you're trying to do this while people are commuting and coming every which way. And there are so many people now who are lost in their phones or their fucking things, or they're battling, whatever fucking yuppie urban fucking anxiety and depression they're dealing with, that they're not even paying attention to these people, and they're the ones who inevitably wind up getting thrown in front of trains and buses. That not only are you dealing with the migrant swinging his hands and God knows what the fuck is in his hands or on his hands, but you're also dealing with like people walking around. It's more difficult than navigate. I've been to third world countries that are easier to fucking navigate. But But in any case, a massive culture shock. Um, and then there's another element of culture shock that I'm going to discuss in a moment. But I had to wrap up my return to New York on this. A delightful moment last night. I was coaching in Hoboken, and on my way back, I've told you guys many times, I think, about the elevator that takes you from the Jersey City Heights down to Hoboken, and it has glass paneling so you can see out. And I get on, and the guy hits the button. The door closes. As the door is closing, some guy runs over and starts hitting the button to try to stop it. And again, this is a 2 elevator one's going up, one on a constant rotation. This guy runs over and tried to stop our elevator as the door was inches from closing. But the door did not stop. It closed. I got to see the look of disappointment on his face as we rose to the top. And then I strolled away casually. And nothing has brought me more joy in recent memory than watching this fucking guy miss the elevator. Because he was going to pull this ultimately selfish move of stopping an elevator. He thought he was more important than the people who had been on the elevator, patiently waiting for the door to close, getting ready to go up, going up. He couldn't wait 10 seconds because if you open this door, it reinitiates the entire cycle. And what happens is a couple more people get on. And then the door starts to close and someone else stops it. And a couple more. And you wind up standing there for like 3 minutes while you wait for this fucking elevator to fill up because people keep stopping the door from closing because there's just this. It's not rooted in any sense. Like, I think if most people sat down and had it explained to them, they would get it. But I think they would still do it. It's just rooted in this stupid, either misguided, on one end, the people who hold the door for others as it's closing, they put the hand out to stop it so some idiot who's fucking 20 yards away can waddle their fat ass over and get on. Or they themselves stick the hand in and do it because it's driven by some sort of confusing anxiety they have about, I'm going to miss the elevator. It's like, who gives a shit? There's another one coming in fucking 20 seconds. They literally, as one is going up, another one is, you cannot miss the elevator there. It's impossible to miss the elevator because there is always the other elevator. When one is up, the other one is down. That's it. But if you you slow down the fucking process, these doors like labor to close. Like, they're old and slow doors. It fucks everybody. And just people consistently do it. And it's one of the things I hate the most about living here. It's one of the things I hate the most about society. It's terrible. Don't stop elevator doors from closing. If you stick your hand in there, you deserves to be just crushed by the elevator door. Thank you for listening to my PSA. Speaking of the culture shock that I experienced when I got back from the shore, I'm going to share this. I have no idea if it's real. I tried to research it, and of course, what I found on the mainstream media was that anyone who's talking about this it's a racist lie. So I have no idea if this is true or not. But is it true that? And can anyone in Ohio or wherever explain this to me? Because where I come from, there is, there's just an admittedly big, it's not even meant as like a racist or discriminatory thing. It's just, I live in a highly densely populated area and we have shitloads of people coming in to live on the sidewalk, which it just doesn't seem healthy. I don't know how small towns in Ohio are faring, but I have started to see on social people would have no qualms about grabbing a duck and fucking cooking it. And I am the multi-generation spawn of Italian immigrants. Um, I will tell you that within the last 40, you go back 40 years. What, it's 2024, so we're talking the 70s. My Italian American forefathers were killing fucking like rabbits and shit in their yards and preparing them as meals, cooking them. So this is something that immigrant populations do, throughout history. The only thing is now it's 2024 and this is like a thing that we don't do. Like it's no longer a thing that we do. Like to assimilate and become part, like you can't, there's a rumor that pets are disappearing. I don't know how true that is. Again, there are neighborhoods where there are like a lot of stray cats and stuff. So who knows? Like there's shitloads of stray cats here. If you told me that someone was living on the street and fucking eating them, I wouldn't be stunned. But this, I don't know where this picture is from. If this is actually a picture of a Haitian migrant about to butcher a fucking goose that he took from a park, but I'm just fascinated by it, really. Is that, like, I want to know if this is actually going on. Like, I heard about it's in Springfield, Ohio. And again, like I tried to look this up. I was looking at it on NPR. Obviously they say no. Every title for it's a, racist claim or whatever. And it's just like, I don't know. Is that actually I really have no fucking clue. So if anyone is watching this, anyone who knows anything about this, has any kind of proof beyond this picture, which again, this could be from an indie film or something, just could be anywhere, please fill me in. Wise me up to what the fuck is going on in Ohio, because this is the first I've heard of it. I am very intrigued. I don't know who to believe. I know that everything that I read on Twitter could be posted by like a Russian or a Chinese bot farm or Iranian or whoever. But I also understand that there are elements in the mainstream media in America who would absolutely cover this up and say that it's a racist lie. So someone, please steer me in the right direction on this. I am so fucking curious. I need to be filled in. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you are, this is a call to anyone who is in Ohio. If you are in that area, if you can send me a picture of just something that explains what is going on, I would be fascinated to know. What else? I've been going for about 40 here. We'll have to wrap up soon. What else went on over the break? I have a couple articles up here. One is this is a very little consequence, but I just found it kind of funny, and no one really covered it or seemed to care. But Daniel Craig laughs off question about a gay James Bond at Venice press conference for Queer. I guess he did a movie where he had some gay sex scenes or something like that, and everyone was talking about it. And Daniel Craig's queer director, Luca Guadagnino, joked that nobody would ever know about the fictional spy's desires. I mean, the thing about James Bond is that, yes, it's a story. You could write it however you want, fanfic. People take things in every fucking direction. But inherent to James Bond's character is that he is an absolute pussy hound. Like, all this guy did was fuck. Like, all he was just up to his fucking balls in pussy all the time. it seems like if he had desires beyond that, he wouldn't be. And again, there's the Mick Jagger, David Bowie thing, but they were sort of fruity entertainers, and you get the impression that they were about a little bit of everything. James Bond, his entire character and persona, uh, it seems to be about the pursuit and seduction of women. Like that, the spy stuff almost at times with him, and I haven't seen the entire library of Bond movies. Maybe there is one where he's, shacked up in a ski chalet with, a Swiss gentleman with firm hands, and they just kind of cut to black, and who knows what happens. But as far as I understand James Bond, like he was kind of half-assed into the spying and just whole cocked into the banging of women with names that implied that they were all about getting dicked down, like pussy galore. So it would of course be very interesting if they did do a gay James Bond, because then they would have to come up with all of these like gay names, like these funny names for gay guy, like Mike Oxbig, like, and would he be a top or a bottom, or would it just be like mutual sucking and jerking off? Like, what are they? What's the end game there? They're very, very interesting, and of course, in this day and age, that's what it is. Adam Carolla had this great line in his book. I think it was in 50 Years We'll All Be Chicks. I think it was in that one where he was talking about how, like, one day we're going to get to the point where it's like society deems there's to be something wrong with you if you're not gay. It was like, look at Corolla. He thinks he's too good to suck dick. And that's how you would get bullied at school. And it's like, we're not far off. We're not far off. Because we're not, society isn't, it's not about acceptance anymore. Like that was, I feel like the big lie is that things are about acceptance, about it's trans acceptance and this acceptance and that acceptance. It's not about acceptance. It's about fuck you, straight white dude, is really what it feels like. And as much as as there has been a backlash, and finally, over the past few years, and obviously with Trump leading the charge on that, there's been some backlash, and I do think the grip of that lunacy on society has started to erode, and I think that's what provoked some of the more outrageous recent behavior on their behalf. Is that they went from, I think the height of it was probably from when they legalized gay marriage through maybe through like lockdown, early lockdown. I think the George Floyd protests and how they were kind of intertwined with like all of the fucking, every kid in your English class is fucking can't quite figure out what gender they are. That I feel like it just hit this pitch, and then it started to die out when all of those types got associated with masks and vax, because that enough people who weren't hip to the whole like PC fucking woke thing back then got introduced to it, because the same people who were mask shaming them or vax shaming them also happened to be advocates for all of this other fucking fukakery. So it's interesting. It does seem like that is fading. I don't know if Trump is going to win in November, but it feels like Kamala is kind of the last gasp of that. I think a lot of people are sick of it. I actually, interestingly, Trump, who has been the biggest sort of like guy to throw rocks at that whole ideology, there's a degree to which I think people who hate all the woke shit will vote for wokeness because they've been made to feel uncomfortable about Trump through his own fault and through the efforts of the media and pop culture, of course. So I think that could allow wokeness another few years to kind of exist, but it does feel like people have gotten quite sick of it, which is a good thing. It's good. It was stupid. It was bullshit. I've been saying that since I was working in the news industry, so I had a fucking eye on this stuff since before it got into the mainstream. Like I remember when they were having those insane protests at the University of Missouri way back in the day. Let me see if I can pull her up. That fucking. Oh yeah, Melissa Click. That was her name. Uh, this fucking nutzo. Hold on, let me see if I can get a big image. No, that's not very big. But damn it. What the fuck? 1 second. There we go. I think that is this a bigger one? I want to open the image in the new tab, cocksucker. There we go. Well, that's too big. Zoom out. Here we go. Well, you'll get a very zoomed in version of her. 1 sec. That's it. Do we remember her? Do we remember Melissa Click? I feel like that was, to me, that was the moment that this shit started to like really seep into the mainstream view. Like I remember seeing that, and I remember talking about that kind of stuff on like podcasts and whatever, and like there was such a denial about that what was going on, but you started to see it. Like remember when Ben Affleck started going nuts on Real Time with Bill Maher because Maher was talking about violence in Islam and stuff. Like there were all these little moments where if you were paying attention to that kind of shit, and a lot of people weren't because we finally got out of the that '08 recession or whatever the fuck it was, and like we were kind of having a good time again. Like we were, I think Occupy Wall Street fucking put a damper on everything. Everyone was in a bad mood. That like Occupy was the first time I guess these wackos let themselves be known. But then like the economy started to do. That was 2011. The economy started, or that was 2012, 2011. The economy started to do better, and everyone was like, "Hey, we're just going to go to EDM festivals and do Molly." There were a few years there where it was just like, hey, let's just do a bunch of Molly and have fun. Everyone was doing Molly and listening to EDM. And it was like, hey, shit's going pretty well. Why are we fucking with it? It's good. And then all of a sudden, the world just became woke. And it's like, it feels like now you're beating to death the term woke and it's hack and it's old. But this was, if you knew what woke meant in 2013, you knew what the fuck was going on. Like it was it was starting to get wild. And this image of Melissa Click to me will always be, that will be the moment when she demanded more muscle to beat up a student journalist over whatever fucking bullshit contrived. This was when microaggressions were a big thing. When college kids were saying that they were microaggressed. And everyone was like, oh, it's just college kids, whatever. So those kids graduated, and some of them went on to grad school and then got their PhDs, and they are now the professors on campus. And they are the ones who are aiding and leading the Columbia protests. And then the rest of them went out to work, and they worked at law firms, and they started filing suits on behalf of ridiculous woke causes. And they went to media outlets to work, and they started doing stories and turned newsrooms woke. You hear about people from the New York Times saying that, like, it's fucking insane on the Slack chats there. And these are people from the fucking old liberal New York Times. Like, the old fucking, like, oh, yeah, we should be giving, rich taxes should support food stamps. Those kind of liberals. Like, the old school liberals, which are like, all right, like, I get what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but I get it. And it just became this insanity. And now I'll leave her up. I'll leave Click up, even though it's not her who's involved in this next last story I want to do here. But Colombia protester who demanded humanitarian aid for anti-Israel class occupiers now teaching classes. From the New York Post, a Columbia University protester who infamously demanded humanitarian aid and a glass of water for violent anti-Israel occupiers is now teaching a class at the Ivy League school that undergrads are required to take. Johanna King Slutsky. King Slutsky, by the way, is a great. It's a hyphenated last name, which is interesting because it has the word slut in it. A hyphenated last name with the name slut in it. That is third wave feminism right there. King Slutsky, by the way, would be, if you were a dude, that would be the only reason to have a hyphenated last name is if you were a dude and you wanted people to think that you banged a lot of chicks and you just walked around having people call you by your hyphenated last name, King Slutsky. And you would just be the man. And every time you banged a chick, you'd have your bros sniff your fingers. And you'd be like, yeah, that's right. King Slutsky strikes again. I love it. That's a great last name, King Slutsky. But King Slutsky here, the royal master of sluts, is a doctoral student who will be instructing contemporary Western civilization. And I don't know what goes on in a contemporary Western civilization course, but I have to imagine that it involves complaining about straight white American males. That's what it feels like. This is what she said at the process. It's ultimately a question of what kind of community and obligation Columbia feels it has to its students. She said she was acting as a spokeswoman for the students. Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill even if they disagree with you? If the answer is no, then you should allow basic. I mean, it's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is like basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. It's not humanitarian aid. The people in Gaza need humanitarian aid because they're under siege and there's a war going on and they need it, right? Like if you're a child in Gaza, you need some hum rats. If you're a student on Columbia doing one of these little pretend protests, and this is what they are. These are of no consequence. Nobody gives a fuck what any of these kids think, or no one should give a fuck what any of these kids think. That's the thing about student protests and all of these activists and stuff. The big fucking thing that everyone is missing with all of this is that these idiots shouldn't be taken seriously. Their existence should be taken seriously. Like we should be like, oh yeah, we gotta figure something out to deal with these fucking stunads. But we shouldn't take their demands seriously. These are people with no life or real world experience. Like I love college. College rules, but college kids are fucking, they're fucking morons. She added, like, could people please have a glass of water? There are water fountains all over New York City. There are parks within walking distance of Columbia. You need to fill up a fucking bottle of water. You can do so. University of Columbia is under no obligation to provide you with a bottle of Evian, you stupid cunt. The course that she'll be teaching at Hamilton Hall, an 8-story academic building named after founding father Alexander Hamilton. There is some satisfaction I take in the idea that she has to teach her course in a building named after one of the hetero Caucasian males who founded this great nation. Is among the 5 general education requirements that undergrads are required to take. Her dissertation focused on fantasies of limitless energy in the transatlantic romantic imagination from 1760 to 1860, which, if we read the course description, is it's a bunch of bullshit, basically. Taught by members of the departments of anthropology, classics, English, comparative literature, French, German history, Latin American, and Iberian cultures, Middle Eastern, South Asian, and African studies, philosophy, political science, religion, Slavic languages, and sociology, and members of Society of Fellows, a study in their historical context of major contributions to the intellectual traditions that underpin contemporary civilization. Emphasis is on the history of political, social, and philosophical thought. Students are expected, blah, blah, blah. This is just class rubric. But yeah, these nut jobs, if you remember, they were demanding, I'll share this tab instead here. They were demanding, this is a bit of the broken glass that they had shattered some fucking glass on a campus building. They were using hammers to bust in, and they're demanding now that the people who own the buildings that they were destroying, they were demanding that those people provide them with water and food and resources and what have you. And this is the delusion that these people operate under. And now she is going to be molding young minds. You wonder why, kids go away to college. It's just kids who don't have hobbies go away to college and they get their brains filled with this shit. And it's like, you'd be better off smoking weed and playing Madden and having fun. Go to a party, wear the same pair of sweatpants for fucking 5 days in a row. Go to a party, fucking get drunk, get a hand job in said sweatpants, go get some fucking chicken fingers and fries at the fucking student union, and call it a day. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you don't need to ruin your college experience. And because a lot of it doesn't last. Obviously, like the professor, Nutso here, that some of them will last like that, but most of them won't. Most of them will go, they'll graduate, they'll get out there. Some of them will become fucking jerk-offs living in Brooklyn or wherever, or out in the suburbs, and making life miserable for whoever the fucking neighbors are. Like in Fairlawn, near where I grew up now, there's a war memorial to service members who died at war. And it features it's typical if you're killed in combat, they do a combat memorial for you where it's your rifle stuck into the ground by the bayonet and your helmet on top of it. So there's a statue like that in Fairlawn that the libs in town are now trying to get rid of because it features a rifle, which, gasp, they use them in war. Fascinating what happens there. Anyway. I've been going for just about an hour as we speak, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Again, I hope to be live next week. it's just the fall. The social calendar fills up. There are, football games to go to, and there are outings around here, and I got to catch up with people that I didn't see as much over the summer because I'm down the shore all the time. So I got to see my not summer friends. It's a whole thing. So I hopefully will be live, but I can't guarantee it. Gonna leave you with my socials: Twitter at Mike Montone, Instagram at Gary_Moyler, Moyler. And of course, YouTube at Mike's Golden Streams, or look for Sacktap Live, or you'll find me, Mike Montone, Sacktap Live. Search it in your YouTube bar. Tell your friends, take a screenshot of this, share it, let people know what we're up to over here. Have a great weekend. Enjoy all the football. Enjoy the fall weather. And please, if someone in Ohio can tell me what's going on with these Ducks, I would love to hear it. Adios, motherfuckers.